The last type of hybridization to talk about is sp hybridization. And in this type of hybridization, an s orbital and one p orbital are blended together to make two equivalent sp hybrid orbitals. Those two orbitals are going to repel one another in space to get as far apart as possible, which results in a 180-degree angle and a linear molecular geometry. Also, in the sp hybrid orbital, there are two unhybridized p orbitals that are available to sideways overlap to create the pi bonds for double and triple bonds. In this example of ethine, C2H2, there's a triple bond between the two carbon atoms, as well as a single bond connecting each carbon to one of the hydrogens. So if we examine the carbon, we can see that each carbon has two bonding domains surrounding it. Two bonding domains would be associated with a linear geometry, a 180-degree bond angle, and an sp hybridization of the orbitals. The sp hybrid orbitals are depicted in blue. The sigma bonds are created by the overlap of the sp hybrid orbitals in between the two carbon atoms, and also the overlap of the sp hybrid orbital with each of the 1s hydrogen orbitals. There are still two propeller-shaped, unhybridized p orbitals that are not part of the hybrid orbitals. Those are the ones that are available to sideways overlap and make the pi bonds, which are part of the double and triple bond in between the two carbons. So in this molecule, there would be 3 sigma bonds, one between each of the carbons and hydrogens, and one between the two carbons. And there would also be 2 pi bonds representing the double and triple part of the bond in between the two carbons. Final modification to our understanding of Lewis diagrams, Vesper theory, and the representation of covalently bonded molecules is called resonance. And so when we have more than one equivalent Lewis structure, resonance is sometimes required to explain what we see in terms of those measurements on a macroscopic scale of bond length, bond energy, and bond angle, to reflect that in the model of how the atomic orbitals are overlapping to create the bonding orbitals. So here's an example of a molecule called ozone, which is O3. And so when we draw the Lewis diagram of ozone, we have a single bonded oxygen to oxygen bond, and also a double bonded oxygen to oxygen bond. We are not allowed to create double bonds on both sides because oxygen is only in period 2. Its valence electrons are only in energy level 2. So oxygen, the central oxygen, cannot have an expanded octet. So in order to satisfy the octet rule, the single bond on one side and the double bond on the other side is kind of the best we can do. However, that double bond sort of has 2 possible locations for it to be. But when we go about measuring the bond length and the bond energy of those oxygen to oxygen bonds, what we actually find is that we have a bond order of about 1.5. It is intermediate between the length and energy of a single bond and of a double bond. So the term used for kind of dealing with the fact that our measurements show that those 2 bonds are equal is resonance. So we say that those pi bonds, the double bond, is delocalized. It sort of can exist in either one of those places. And so therefore we get an intermediate bond length and bond energy in between a single bond and a double bond. So resonance is often used to explain equivalent Lewis structures, mostly where a double bond has more than one possible place to exist. So you can write the resonance structures with the double-headed arrow showing the double bond in either place, but really sort of understand that it's kind of in both places, and we get a length and an energy in between a single bond and a double bond. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in class.